Okay. Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. Hope you can hear me on the microphone. We're doing things a little bit differently for the new year. We're going to do some trivia on the usual little Trivial Pursuit thing in just a moment. But first of all, I got something kind of neat that I want to make sure that I show you guys here in the meantime. Can you hear me okay? I'm not seeing many in the comments here. Hopefully it's good to go. We got a couple people in here so far. Let's see, like put this over here. You can hear me. Okay, fantastic. Okay, so one thing over the holidays that I was really meaning to show you guys, and I haven't really shown it yet. My mother actually made a new quilt, and it's the kind of ones that that you guys are definitely going to want to see. So I'm standing up here, so I'm going to try to get the camera turned around. Hopefully the cable does not get in the way, so we'll turn that around, and you'll get a good look at it. Check this out. All right. Excellent. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, this here is a quilt that my mom made over the last few years. A couple different patterns on here. I was really tickled with the design here. My mom's been making quilts for a very long time. She had her own brand. I think they were called Dark Heart quilts. And her design is kind of like this collage style where you have a lot of different fabrics and just like, even if it's just like a small square, just kind of patch them together. This particular pattern here is called Courthouse Steps. And the patterns that you see that are like in this color, these are representing different race teams. At the time we did this, we were kind of keeping track of the different race winners and the paint schemes from that year. And every time there's a new one, my mom would be like, okay, well, what color does the car look like? And so we would say, okay, this one here was black and red. And so you got kind of that Furniture Row kind of pattern here. You got kind of, I think this was Jimmy Johnson up here a few years ago, back in the Lowe's times, of course. This one up here, you can see it on the camera. Yeah, there we go. This middle one here is actually intended to be J.D. McDuffie's pattern, the burgundy car. So after the book came out, I ended up making an update to the quilt here. So got a lot of interesting details. Let me bring this a little bit closer so you can see here. All right. Kind of bring it closer to straight on there. I'll move the camera up and down. Maybe actually unhook this here. That'd probably be easier. I just don't want it shaking around a whole lot. So what you'll also notice here, some of the other patterns, these older pieces here, these are all from 1994. So you have a lot of good throwback paint schemes here for sure. You got Terry Labonte here. There's Ted Musgrave. Can you see that? There it is right there. And what's very interesting about this, these fabrics, again, all 1994 from that pattern. I just recently found an old issue from NASCAR's Winston Cup Illustrated that did a feature on these guys. I'll bring it up right here. And in the, which issue is this? This is the August 4th, 1994. So right before the inaugural Brickyard 400, there's a feature on these guys out in South Carolina. And they made these different fabrics, and it was kind of really neat to actually kind of work with that. In fact, I don't know, I'll bring it a little closer to the camera here. Whoop, let's bring it this way. There's a Michael Waltrip design here by my thumb, and what you'll see is it's right here, same design right there. So a little bit of history kind of woven into it, literally there too. But did a fantastic job on this one. I really got to say. So this may actually be kind of our backdrop here for future episodes. Maybe we'll do it tonight and we'll kind of work with something like that. But yeah, very tickled with how it came out. Let me bring this down here, right, this mobile here, and see if we can move this around. The cord's kind of short. There you go. Bringing this a little closer, I'll try to keep it as steady as I can. Some of these other ones here, you'll see kind of reddish ones. These are track maps on here that were drawn. I did the original sketch of them, and then mother traced the. We got Daytona down here with the Lake Lloyd, and we kind of did like the little thing with the states, so you can see like where in the state each of the tracks are. There's Point on here for sure, although on this one we put it as Infineon. There it is. You can see it on that one. Talladega, Watkins Glen. So yeah, Darlington right over here. So you got all those on there. So yeah, this will be pretty much something we're going to have kind of in the background, still figuring out the new studio arrangement sometime next year. But in the meantime, that's going to be pretty much this location here. So we'll get that figured out. And yeah, so there you go. So definitely check that out for sure. Get everything set up here and we'll get some trivia questions together. Uh-oh. See, it's lagging on here. Uh-oh, that's not good. I'll keep trying that too. Let's see. I don't know if you saw the bottom row. There you go. I'll let you look at that there while I kind of get everything set up. Had connection issues for a few seconds. Oh, that's not good. I know we had a little bit of that yesterday when we did the standalone video, so it might just be a connection issue on this side. We'll figure it out here, and we can refresh if we certainly have to. So we'll go from there. You got it's stable again? Okay, excellent. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to move this up. Actually, I'll bring this back up this way here and get this set. And we'll get the studio together. Hope you all are having a safe New Year's and the holiday and everything as we now get back to where it should be, coming down to the last 50 or so fewer days to the start of the season. I guess we're down to what, 43, 42 till the 5. There we go. Kind of want to center this as best as possible, but we'll kind of maybe just move it here in the meantime. All right. This might still be a little bit too high. See, I should have sprung for the tripod that's a little bit smoother in moving one direction or another, but this one here, unfortunately, you still got to screw everything kind of manually. But we'll get that set. Let me get my computer here. All righty. And there we go. Okay. Don't want to unhook this. Oh, I think that's why it's lagging. This connection's kind of coming loose. Hopefully it doesn't unplug while I bring this over here, but we'll figure that out. Are we good? Whoop. This thing's going to be, oh, that is too high. Okay. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. All right. Stable again. Not sure if it's any better this time around. Where did I put it? Oh, and of course I put that back in the next chair. So in the meantime, we'll bring these down. And at some point, we're going to advance this to the point where I could play another video while I'm doing this. But in the meantime, you'll get an enjoyment of me adjusting my tripod here, maybe looking at the top of my head as this thing gets adjusted. There we go. All right. All right. Okay. So, not quite centered on that. There we go. It's a little better. Not perfect, but a little better. All right. I'm going to move this here. I still got to get the trivia box here. So I'm going to set that there. I'm going to try not to disconnect that. And we're going to get this right over here. Okay. All right. So, with that, we'll put that there. I don't want to lose that. A little bit different from our setup back at the other location, but it's going to be something else that we'll figure out here. Hey, there I am. Excellent. So we'll jump into this. And there we go. Hopefully the connection's still decent here. If it's not loading too well, I apologize for that, but we're going to go ahead and do this as best as possible. So I want to talk about another thing in the meantime to kind of lead us off before we get into the trivia portion, not to put another obstacle in the way. Thinking about a lot of things, especially coming into this next season. Oh, the connection's fine? Okay, good. All right. My thought is specifically with the next gen car. I think that's been another one here as I could pull up a good picture of it here. Alrighty. And the continuing saga of NASCAR trying to change the position of the car numbers and talking a while back about the fact that this is a situation that NASCAR themselves created. And now we're all kind of just dealing with the after effects of it here. This is something I kind of want to touch on a little bit. If I can get a good profile shot of it, trying to get that good side view on the phone here. Do. So the progression has been, if I can get this in the full frame here. So the progression with the next gen car, talking about number placement, and the reason I think, that it's been, that's not a great picture of it. The reason it's been so much of an issue is you have this situation with the way the car is designed. And clearly the rear quarter panel is a lot smaller, at least on a profile shot. It doesn't seem to be nearly as big as even the Gen 6 cars right now. So you have a situation where, a sponsor that would be in the traditional spot, like over the rear tires, you have just so much of a smaller space. And again, why NASCAR designed it this way when they know that, so many cars, even from, the early years, have a big space there, and that gets shown really well from a side view of the car. It seems like they've kind of, taken that step where it just doesn't work out quite as well. There we go. There we are. Okay, not sure how visible this will be. Okay, good. At least it's bright enough. Okay, so its glare is not the greatest. All right. So again, we're talking about the next gen car here. We're talking about the little quarter panel here that's way too small. Just like we had the same issue with these wheels, these rims, and the reason that we're not going to have 5 lug nuts on the rims anymore is because they had these rims installed. It's like, okay, well, now we're going to have these rims on these cars, and well, we can't do the 5 lug nuts anymore because you have the rims. So why do we have the rims? Well, they look cooler, and that's what they're going to do. NASCAR has again created a situation much like that, where now it's legitimately up for debate where the numbers are going to go. Now, he did the numbers in the back of the side panel here, and they look terrible. No matter which paint scheme it was, no matter which team it was, no matter which manufacturer it was, they all looked awful. I mean, let's just perfectly face facts. Can we agree on that at least? I think that would be something to talk about. Now, whether or not the other reason that the numbers look terrible in the back here is because if the idea was to split up more space for sponsors and give them as much of this canvas as possible to see the logos, then the number is in exactly the wrong spot. Now, maybe in that same sense, the number in the middle isn't really a good spot either, as much as I hate to admit that. Because the problem is when you have number at the back, you notice a lot of teams, I think Chase Elliott's in particular, they would have a logo over the rear tires, and then they would have another logo over here. But it's confusing because you have 2 logos for the same brand, and they're kind of split up. So like it'd be like the Napa logo here, and then Auto Parts over the rear tires. But that looks awful. It looks just haphazard and just kind of thrown together. And it seemed like a lot of the different brands in the All-Star race were having the same issue. And even some of the renders that people are kind of trying to put together are still not finding a solution to that problem. Now, I will admit that if you have the number in the middle of this side panel, it doesn't really fix that problem either, because now, at the same time, we've gotten rid of the contingency decals, which are just about eliminated altogether. And so you have this big space over here that we didn't really have before. Now, I personally like the contingency decals because you get to know all these different brands and different companies that sponsor the sport or sponsor a different award, and each team arranges them a little bit differently. It's kind of a nice aspect of the paint schemes, but unfortunately, I guess we're just down to, the points award and the NASCAR stock car decal, and that's pretty much it, So here's the issue with that. So if you're going to have a situation with this where you have very little space, I mean, actually look at this picture now. It's not too bad, but you got this the insert for the fuel cell on that side that's awfully close to, the midpoint of the wheel. At least it looks like it in this shot. But, if you're going to do that, I'm almost willing to compromise putting a number on the front of this panel, like right here, right next to the front tires. So like right here, kind of like the NE on next gen. You can't really see it very well in the picture here, but you get what I'm saying. Kind of like right in this area, right in the area where the contingency decals used to be. Because if you do that, then if you have a big logo or a logo that doesn't fit the space very well, you got all this real estate from the midpoint of the window all the way back to the side panel here that you could splash the logo on that. It could go up, it can go straight across, and you don't have that split like you had when you had the number in the back, where you have like Napa and then Auto Parts, and it looks like, you know, something I would have done in NASCAR Racing 1 for Papyrus back in 1993 or 95 or something. So I think that would be the place that I would kind of compromise on that. And it still pains me to do so because I still think it'll look terrible, but I think it'll look less terrible than a lot of the other options. And, you know, you do still have the roof number and, you know, and everything from there. So maybe it wouldn't look too bad from that standpoint. What I'm thinking of is, I don't know if you guys remember, but Eric Jones had a paint scheme in the 77 car. I think it was with Sport Clips. It was one of the ones he had at Bristol, I believe. And he ran that. And the number 77, the same font they actually have for Spire Motorsports. And that the number was so large that you couldn't really fit it in the middle anymore. And they kind of pushed it. They sneaked it by a little bit and pushed it a little bit forward without those contingencies there. And I didn't think it looked that bad. I mean, the number was big, and I think it would look better than it would have been if they kind of leaned it further back and everything. But I think that would be the better solution, is something closer to that. And I know there's a lot of old like Busch Series cars and everything that have the number leaned way back, and then they just have a huge sponsor here. But you can see that this isn't that body style. The reason that worked on those Busch cars is they're so very long, and if you put the number in the middle, you had a lot of wasted space on both sides. So it kind of made sense to kind of, you know, push it back a bit. And you could put a big, like, you know, you could put a Rush Travel Centers logo in that big space there. I'm not convinced that you can do that on this car because it's taller and the panel doesn't seem that much bigger, and it's confined again by these fenders on either side. So they need to find something to work with that. I think that would be the way to work with that. So not the best visual illustration, but that's kind of my compromise I'm willing to kind of work with on that. It's at least as far as I'm willing to go at this moment, or maybe I'm just feeling more charitable for the beginning of New Year's or anything, but I think that's kind of the point there. So yeah, that would be kind of a different one to certainly talk about. Interesting thoughts on that as well. I'm just checking out some of your comments here. Thank you so much for you guys joining on just short notice here. I know we had, I just kind of threw this in at the last second here. All righty. But we'll go ahead and get into the section here in the meantime. Do we have any other big news here really in the last week or so? I mean, I'm trying to think. We had a couple of team sponsor announcements. It's good to see. I think the partnership that Mike Harmon Racing is having with, what is it, the Wolfpack Group or something? That'll be interesting. I think any support they can get kind of reminds me of a lot of the other veterans organizations they've worked with in the past to get going. And it looks like they're sticking with Kyle Weatherman and Bailey Curry, which I think is a great choice given how well both of them were doing really all of last season. So that should be something good to see there at the same time. Joey Fairbanks, seeing your question there. Contingency sponsors, they get discontinued, or did the contingency sponsors stop paying? I think there must have been some kind of restructuring with the charter system that seemed to change about, you know, how, you know, money gets traded back and forth there in the sport. I'm not exactly sure what the story is, but it's been a longer progression for a number of years. We've seen like so much fewer and fewer contingency sponsors. Whether or not these businesses are still investing in NASCAR, or if they just find another way to handle the awards systems, or if they're just not giving away products or anything to these teams. That was kind of something that came up talking to Joe Dan Bailey, the son of HB Bailey, is that if he didn't get some free stuff from one of these sponsors, he wasn't going to put to the contingency decal on his car. And he was in one of those cars that had very little primary sponsorship, didn't even have anything on really the side of the car, and then the Almeida Auto Parts logo on the hood, which I think was his own business. So what's changed on that side of it, I don't really have that much information, but it'd be interesting to find out for sure. Whatever it is, it's been kind of an unfortunate situation on that, but maybe things will change on that end. And although, I mean, if you get other companies involved, you know, it'd be good to see, but I'm not sure if we're going to see it in the same sense as back then. I was actually looking at a diecast here, and I had a Kyle Petty diecast from '97. And on top of the contingencies, you also had a whole swath of logos in front of the rear tires, kind of on that lower corner. And you see a little bit of that now. even in the Gen 6 cars and everything. So you get a similar situation, but I'm not sure if it's to the same extent as you used to back then. Whether or not it's a situation where a company just has the very basic amount of money that they can put towards sponsorship, or if it's a different situation that way. But yeah, that would be kind of another thing to talk about at the same time. Yeah, Cartoon Network back in NASCAR, random reviews. I hear you on that. I think that would be a lot of fun to get them back out. Just nice paint schemes. That was probably kind of one thing that happened really since our last show is talking about the simplicity of paint schemes, the simple color schemes. I'm trying to remember who it was. Was it Seth Sharp that put the tweet out? I'm trying to make sure I credit the right person there. But those of you who followed my Twitter feed, I'm sure saw my response to it. And certainly talking about paint schemes where if you can't recognize the driver or the team in just one instant and immediately identify it, the paint scheme just doesn't work. And I know that there's a lot of different factors in there between just the changing sponsorship dynamic where one company can't sponsor an entire year, so they're not going to run the same paint scheme the entire season. Also, the use of vinyl wraps versus paint, that obviously has a big factor because you can have even a throwback paint scheme at Darlington still not look quite as good as the original thing back then, even if it's just a matter of the numbers being different. So that would be another thing to kind of look at. But that would be I still kind of stand by that. I think that you could still accomplish that somehow with vinyl wraps. I think that I think what Seth was pointing out in his original tweet was, again, a lot of these busy paint schemes. He drew, I think he did a good job comparing certain brands that were around in the late 90s and versus the ones that are around now, and how much more complicated and kind of ugly the paint schemes look. You think about the Mobil 1 paint scheme, the one with the huge Pegasus on the side of Jeremy Mayfield's car when he was with Penske. And then you look at Kevin Harvick's car, same brand, actually even more increased sponsorship, it seems, with the car, but it's in this dingy black and silver look. And it just doesn't fit the color scheme of the logo at all. It's just kind of unsightly. And then even that's a paint scheme they're not running that often because they got a split time with Hunt Brothers and all these other companies, Busch Beer paint schemes out there. Busch actually had a lot of decent ones last year, I'd have to say. But the Mobil 1 just really didn't look very good. So I think it just feels sometimes that maybe there's some aspects of the sport that really didn't, were cared for and focused on a lot more in that period than they are now. I think nowadays people just kind of slap something together and that's the way it's going to look. And I think a lot of maybe it'd be interesting to see what these companies do and what input they have in coming up with these paint schemes. Either if they have too much control and they end up coming with something that doesn't look very good, or they have very little control and you get the same kind of results. That would be kind of interesting to find out. I'll have to admit, these are the kind of questions that I would love to ask around a racetrack, but of course, we're still in the middle of the ongoing stuff here. And I'll tell you what, I have like a document on my phone of just like a whole lot of interview questions just been stacking up for like 8 months. And so whichever our next race is going to be, we're going to have to just scratch the surface of that. And that one's probably going to have to be added to the list there for sure. Yeah. And Mark Allen, you bring up a good thing at the same time. Yeah. Pepsi and Mountain Dew not being on a car, huge difference there. If we're not seeing that, that branding out there, I was just thinking about how long it's been since we had even a paint scheme that showed the actual Pepsi brand on it. I know Mountain Dew has still had its significant presence with Dale Jr. and now with Chase Elliott. Yeah, it's shocking when you see company as big as that kind of restructure or reorganize or just determine that they don't want to put as much emphasis on the sponsorship that way. So hopefully something works out on that end. A lot of times when a company pulls out of NASCAR or with a team, they'll kind of spring up someplace else. So I guess it'll be interesting to find out where that's the case. Buick, for example, when they pulled out of NASCAR, they ended up showing up in golf. So, who knows if it's going to be something maybe as bizarre as that somewhere further along the line. Yeah, Pepsi with Gordon. It was a 2015 Bean Boy. Yeah, it doesn't even that's a long time ago. We're talking like 5 years. But if you go even further back, it's kind of crazy with the different sponsorships, or back when Gordon even had Coca-Cola for a little while there. Thank you, Sir Wrinklestein, for the congratulations on the 10,000 subscribers. Very happy with that for sure. Kind of talked about that a bit in our Phoenix Racing live stream that we had a couple of weeks ago there. But very excited by that. It's been a long time going here. I know I've been on and off YouTube a lot there, and I'm a lot older and balder than a lot of the young kids out there. But trying to still kind of keep something going here on the channel and something a little different, whether it's these live streams or the future episodes. I was just working on another project here since the holidays, and I just wrapped up on that today, so I can kind of set that aside. It's actually be some work with my next book that I'm working on. So I set that aside, and I'm going to go back to working on the Morgan Shepherd episode, which is going to be the next episode of the Field Filler series. Still aiming to get that done sometime this month. I kind of gathered a lot of the material together. I think this is going to be very interesting. And the other good thing, too, is I already had an interview with Morgan back on December 1st. So that one is going to have a driver interview as part of it, kind of similar to the last couple episodes we've had I think it was Dean Arnold back in the Arnold Motorsports one, and then, of course, James Finch for the Phoenix Racing one. So that's going to be real exciting. I think we can get to something really good and again, there's kind of a theme to these teams that we're talking about now that's going to kind of lead into something a little bit further down the road. So very excited on this series. And again, it's not going to be wrapping up anytime soon. But that'll be one to certainly talk about. Anonymous Acceler, do your comments on NBC getting rid of NBCSN. Has that been confirmed? Last I heard, that was still a rumor. I'm not sure about that. I mean, it would be terrible, if that were the case, because you have just a situation where, you're really limiting access to the sport, because so many of these networks, just like Fox does, where they put a lot of these races on FS1. If you're eliminating that, if you're closing a door on that, I worry about how that's going to work out with the schedule going forward. Now, when it was first discussed, I was hearing a lot of people talking about, like, if this means that they're going to kind of restructure the channel and have it be something almost exclusively focused on NASCAR, kind of like the old Speed channel was. That seems kind of like a pipe dream at this point, but it's certainly possible. Maybe it's NBC's version of it versus what we've seen on Fox. So, who knows? But I mean, I think that would be one thing that'd be optimistic about. But as if there weren't enough challenges already to figuring out this year's schedule and races getting moved around and everything still, with Fontana getting canceled for the Daytona Road Course. If it's getting to the point now where the networks are now going to be shuffling around a bit, that's going to be something else to talk about at the same time. Yeah, but I mean, again, with NBCSN, I mean, you have to factor in also the streaming service aspect. I mean, I know they have that Peacock channel that Dale Jr.'s show is on and everything, and maybe the reason they're scaling back on that cable channel is, to kind of lean into that a bit more. Maybe we'll see more content on there. Again, not exactly sure, and it sounds like the network's still kind of figuring that out too. So that'll be something kind of interesting to see at the same time. Yeah, there's always Mav TV. I don't think we get that up here. That's too bad, because apparently they got a lot of interesting content too. Yeah, but we'll do the trivia here too. Thank you again. I saw a lot of comments here on the quilt. For those of you who came in a little later in the show, if you want to hear the full backstory on that, that'll be back at the beginning of this episode here. I kind of went over most of it here in the background, but this one here my mom made, and she made that over the last few years. She has a friend of hers who quilted kind of a flame pattern into it there. Did a fantastic job. But yes, these squares here, good eye. I saw a couple of people mentioning it that came in here a little later. Those are 1994 paint schemes, whether you got Schrader's or Michael Waltrip's or Terry Labonte's, really come together, as well as some handmade track layouts here, and then also some driver patterns there. But the full story there. So thank you certainly for the compliments on that one. And again, this may be something we'll maybe put in the background. I know we just kind of have you're either staring at the ground or just at me exclusively. So we'll try to liven things up here a little bit and do something a little bit closer to this for future episodes. So that'll kind of be our look on that as well. Alrighty. Okay. Nope, not that. Let me do the categories. We'll start off here. Okay, so same rules with the Trivial Pursuit deal here. Go ahead and pick your favorite category, and that'll be the one we'll go ahead and start off with. First one is NASCAR. Second is pits. Third, teams. Fourth, tracks. Fifth, drivers. And sixth is the wild cards. Go ahead and mention in the comments which category you want me to start off with. If you have any other questions about everything that's going on this year, or other rumors or stuff to talk about going into next season, certainly go ahead and check out there. Let's see. Yeah, have him Mav TV, but just for ARCA. There you go. Yeah, Terry Labonte. Yeah, I mean, again, great pattern. I mean, I think this actually kind of fits in with the theme that Seth was talking about on Twitter there. So if you're talking about paint schemes that are iconic, I mean, again, you could glance at all three of these and you know exactly which driver that was, even if, if you're a newer fan or anything, or you can at least narrow it down to, which team or which car number or something. And even, this Schrader paint scheme, I mean, it only ran 1 year. The white car was more the traditional one. This is kind of the transition into Ricky Craven's paint scheme. But it still stands out. So, kind of an interesting collection. It's interesting that it turned out to be 1994 that they did do this. But again, if you, the story I swear, I picked this issue up on eBay and I flipped it open and it had that exact same pattern in there. It's unreal. But apparently, yeah, some people in South Carolina came up with those fabrics and put together an interesting design on that. So there you go. Beast of Metal, thank you for the super chat. My goodness. So I went looking for reports on NBCSN possibly shutting down and came back with a report that suggests the problems with their NASCAR coverage actually span across multiple sports. Okay. So if it's a whole different deal, then, well, that would certainly be an issue. Thank you for the link there at the same time. Yeah, not sure what's going to be happening with that, but certainly, again, I've been outspoken on some of the qualities of, these broadcasts. NBC and Fox kind of have their own unique problems from one to the next. So that would be something else to kind of talk about there. But, that'll be, if that's the situation, if they're taking that same approach to other sports, if their broadcasts aren't that good, or if their production values dropped off, or if they're just, they're having to cut corners for one reason or another, that could speak to a larger problem. But I'm gonna have to look into that article a bit more closely there, Beast of Metal. But thank you for the heads up, and certainly thank you for the super chat on that. The black and yellow one gives you David Green's car. Yeah, it's a very good point. Yeah, this one up here. Yeah, kind of the Buzz McCall team there. I think some of them went back pretty far. I think the reason that one was made was when Paul Menard won his only race at Indianapolis. Like these have been collected for a while. Some of these were from 2011. I think one of them was Regan Smith. One of them was like Jimmy Johnson. And we had some other ones. We just kind of took the best ones and put that on there. But yeah, really tickled with how it came out there for sure. Let me see here. Which category did everybody pick? I saw a few for drivers, but I'm not sure if that was the one. Actually, quite goodness, everybody picked drivers. Okay, drivers it is. Let's go. All right. Nope, not that one. Hang on. Okay, drivers. Here we go. Okay, yeah, no code red tonight. Yeah, no, ran out. Got to restock. Just got the Diet Coke here tonight. Just the holiday can? No, just the traditional one. So there you go. It is hot in here. I want to take this sweater off, but it's, I don't know, I'm going to pull the microphone out of here, so nobody needs that. Alrighty. Go. First question. Who was the first driver to exceed 130 miles per hour in a qualifying run at Phoenix? Don't look it up. Just go ahead and try to guess it. Who was the first driver to exceed 130 miles per hour in a qualifying run at Phoenix? Where could form an alliance with Gibbs and still be slow? Well, who knows? I mean, Rick Ware Racing, they're an interesting team. And, Rick is certainly very passionate about what he does. And, I think with some of these teams, they kind of work, they kind of try to expand a little bit quicker than others. I think if they just had the one car, they could, improve a lot, like we've seen with Motorsports Business Management, even at times. Carl Long's team with Timmy Hill, I mean, they got stage points at the Roval. Hill was good at Martinsville in the spring before they had mechanical issues, and of course the breakout run during Speed Weeks last year. It would be nice if they could get to that point. In fact, they have. I think Justin Marks was driving for them in what was that, 3 or 4 years ago? I think it was the year that Austin Dillon won, and got like a 12th place finish out of that. So hopefully things turn around on that end. But I think doing 4 cars for any team is quite a lot to work with. We even see Hendrick struggling with it. Just imagine the obstacles that somebody like Rick is dealing with here. All righty, so seeing several guesses here. Bill Elliott, Rusty Wallace, Ryan Newman, Mark Martin, Alan Kulwicki, Davey Allison, Bodine, Dale Sr. Yep, all over the place. Now, you're probably not going to get Newman because this is, again, late 90s one here. Not quite late 80s. That'll be interesting questions. But the answer is Bill Elliott. Bill Elliott, there you go. Tilt that up there. Yeah, the road courses might help. Yeah, it might help Motorsports Business Management too. It sounds like if they're going to do, I'll be interested to see how long that MBM sticks with their 2-car lineup. If it's just going to be for Daytona or if it's going to be more races. I know they filled a few fields, if you will, towards the later end of last year with Chad Fincham. But that's a possibility. Putting like a road course ringer in there, or you have Timmy in one car and then a ringer in another. Even if it's somebody like Tommy Dreese or something like that, that would be interesting to see. Of course, you have problems with maybe getting some more movies have to get released before you get Dreese back out there with since all of his sponsorship is kind of tied in with that. Alrighty. Next question. Who was the first driver to break the 200 mile per hour mark in a NASCAR Winston Cup car? Who was the first driver to break the 200 mile an hour mark in a NASCAR Winston Cup car? Yeah, Bill Elliott was not what I would have guessed either. It seemed like that would have been like Mark Martin or something like that. And I can see you guys guessing Ryan Newman, even without knowing the year gap there, because I mean Newman just so impressive in the qualifying efforts for that time. Yeah, I think Sir Wrinkleson is here. Comment on Yaley. Yeah, we should stick with where he had a lot of good runs. I agree with you on that. Yeah, absolutely. I think even there were. I know that he still struggled with some tracks. What he had I think he got he finished last at Texas with like a 4th or 5th different team in his career. But, there were other times, even in the Xfinity series too. When he drove Ware's car at Martinsville, I know he stayed out on a couple of pit stops there to try to get some track position, but he still had a solid run there. And that's the other one too. I would have been really happy if Ware's Xfinity team was just the one car and it went for the entire year. I think they'd be able to do really well with that. Again, I'm more troubled about them expanding there than maintaining the 4-car lineup in Cup. And I think the 4-car lineup in Cup is already a lot to, bite off to begin with. But I think if they just had one Xfinity car, they could probably be pretty solid. They could at least do as well as Mike Harmon's team's done this last year, or maybe step up to like a Brandon Built Motorsports kind of thing. I think that's where they'd be really good. On the Cup teams, I would like to believe that with this next gen car, the gap is going to close a little bit, but I've heard this song before. I heard it back in 2007 with the Car of Tomorrow, and they were phasing that, and Hendrick Motorsports just waxed the field with that. So, that was just the end of it. You had Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon just being able to have like their own private playground when they were, swapping between the regular car and the Car of Tomorrow. And then in 2008, you had 3 drivers just dominate the entire season between Johnson, Carl Edwards, and Kyle Busch, and everybody else, they were just kind of toast. I'm concerned that we're going to have that with the next gen car. I think it would be very, I would be very surprised if it closed the gap. If it closes the gap, maybe between where the people at the back of the field aren't getting lapped in the first 15 laps, maybe that's happening 60 laps, that's one thing. But in terms of parity in winners, I'm not sure if that's going to happen. But I've been wrong before, but I'm skeptical of that a little bit, I'd have to say. Who was the first driver to break the 200 mile an hour mark in a NASCAR Winston Cup car? And the answer is indeed, a lot of you got it, Buddy Baker, indeed. Buddy Baker. Anonymous Acceler do street circuits are worth experimenting with. I'd be open for that. I would love to cover a street course. Never been to one. I know that they have Long Beach in my state here for IndyCar. I'm not really a big open wheel guy though, so I don't really go to a whole lot of those events. But I know that stock cars have had a history, running on those. And then of course you got the Pinty series, and they got their deal north of the border and put some good shows on up there. And yeah, if that's gonna be something that's gonna maybe bring somebody like a Andrew Ranger or Kerry Mix or something into the series. I know Mix is getting on a little bit, but I think that would be something kind of interesting to see. Get a street course ringer. Sounds like an interesting concept. All right, next question. What driver broke some ribs when thrown off a donkey in a 1977 Winston-Salem parade? What driver broke some ribs when thrown off a donkey in a 1977 Winston-Salem parade? Hey, Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott YouTube channel. Fun stuff. Congratulations on the championship. Let's see. I don't think we have Bill on this quilt. I guess we didn't have the. I don't think they ever did ones for. I mean, I'm sure licensing agreements are interesting. I don't think we had any fabric that had Bill Elliott on there. But these are. I like these paint schemes in particular. I'm really glad Michael Waltrip's got on there. That's one of my all-time favorites. That Bahari paint scheme. It's just so clean, like that bright. I mean, I know we talked earlier about contingency decals and how it stinks that they're not around anymore. But that team like deliberately didn't run that many of them because it made the car just look faster, which was unfortunate because when Michael Waltrip dominated Darlington in 1991, he would have been eligible for like all the bonuses, and he only had like 3 stickers on there, so he maybe only got like 10% of what he could have gotten. But hey, the car looked cool. Still didn't win, but it looked cool. So that's worth something. Whoop! Don't want to exit the window. Hang on. Let's make sure I'm using the touchpad, and I'm never a big fan of the touchpad. I guess it's for Richard Petty, Darrell Waltrip, Yarborough, Dale Sr. What is the answer? What driver broke some ribs when thrown off a donkey in a 1977 Winston-Salem parade? And the answer is Darrell Waltrip. Darrell Waltrip. Look at Crowman Experience. You got that one. Oh, an Ultimate 23 Dragon. Looks like you got it first. There you go. 2311 Racing has big plans in the future. Anonymous Acceler do? Well, big plans, certainly. But again, it's you certainly wish them the best of luck, just like any other new team. I think we talked about this in our last episode here, but I would still caution against having the expectations be too high for them. It's great that they have their sponsorship worked out. They got a great partner in there. I'm sure Michael Jordan's going to bring in a lot of new fans that way through the sport. Great. Fantastic. But again, much like with what I was talking about with the car tomorrow, I've been hearing this before. Think to Elliott Marino Motorsports with Jerry Nadeau. Think to Hall of Fame Racing, which itself had Joe Gibbs' support from the start in that team, and they just struggled consistently. And now maybe that was at a time where you had a larger field, and even qualifying for the races was a question. Obviously, they don't have to worry about that with Bubba Wallace because now they have a charter. They know they're secured in the field. And who knows how many other teams are going to be running full time, but that's not going to be an issue there. There are some factors in their favor there. But again, I would caution against being too, have your expectations be too high. I think if they get some solid runs starting off, even if they're just like a 20th place or 15th place team or something, that's still progress. That still puts them ahead of, a team like, Elliott Marino or Hall of Fame Racing or some of these other ones here. Those are the kind of steps that you want to see. And that's still progress for Bubba Wallace in that standpoint too. And what difference we're going to see versus his work with Richard Petty Motorsports versus that. So yeah. Let me see. The 2311 will barely miss the playoffs. It's possible. I mean, it's possible. That would be, who knows? Anything's possible. I mean, who knows what teams are going to be there? I'm going to be really interested in seeing the flip side of this. I think the thing that can't be overlooked is Eric Jones in the Petty car and what's their sponsorship forecast look like. And what are things going to be looking like where Jones is no longer in that situation of being under that Gibbs umbrella? Are we going to have something like a Joey Logano situation where once he gets out of Gibbs, wherever he ends up, it's fantastic that, Logano ended up at Penske with, tremendous resources. Not really the same situation with Gibbs with Petty's team, but maybe just, how much of that was getting into another quality team that maybe fit his style more, and how much of it was just literally getting out of Gibbs. Never forget, Eric Jones is a Southern 500 winner. Never forget, he's always making it. He's either knocking on the door of the playoffs or in the playoffs, and just has terrible luck down the stretch. If things can turn around just a little bit for him, I think that's going to be interesting. He's going to be one I'm going to be certainly watching because he is outperformed in a lot of his equipment, if not for some bad luck and just being the odd man out in this situation with Christopher Bell coming up the ranks and doing as well as he did in the Xfinity series. Maybe be in a different situation, but that's just not the way the sport is right now. So, but he's one I think is going to be really, he's really one that I think is going to be interesting. There's a lot of teams and a lot of combinations here. I'm still kind of working on the entry list article for this because I think there's a lot of this is going to be a lot of teams and everything is changing. How is Corey LaJoie going to do at Spire Motorsports? Um, Running two cars there, and what does that mean for the Rick Ware partnership with Premium, since Premium had a connection with Spire, and where does that end and where does that begin, and how does that work? And then, yeah, somebody mentioned earlier the money team popped back up again, and apparently they're talking to Spire. Does that mean 3 cars? Does that mean a partnership with the 77? Who knows? I mean, there's a lot. What I usually do, especially in last year's off season, I work on my entry list article for the Daytona opener and kind of piece it all together like over the off season. This year, I kind of did a little bit of it, and now I'm just kind of letting it sit because it seems like things are still kind of coming together. And a lot of these team arrangements, I don't know what it's going to look like by the time we get to February. And then once we get to February, okay, we'll finish that off and get that posted for you guys. So that's kind of what we're looking at with that. It's a partnership with the 77. Okay, I mean that would make sense, but um, I don't know. I mean, Spire is such a weird situation even to begin with. I'm glad they're finally making diecast of their cars. Um, Personally, I liked the Melon Man paint scheme that Ross Chastain ran at Indianapolis, so I thought that looked cool. I'm glad they're making that in diecast, so people aren't entirely unfamiliar with this team that's out there, even though they run. They have a lot of struggles out there. People think they're starting parks, even though starting parks don't exist anymore in the Cup Series. Yeah, that would be certainly interesting. Yeah, try an entry list for the 24 hours of Daytona set head too. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, think about that. This is gonna be interesting. What we got that coming up in just a few weeks. I'm it's gonna be the first time in a while that I wasn't working night shift for that one there. I kind of had good memories of introducing some of the coworkers to that while on my lunch break or something, and saying, hey, they're racing right now in Florida, and it's like 3 a.m. out here. You can see the dawn come up and all that. I mean, you can still do that, but I mean, it's that was always something fun at the same time. Hey, Ty Dillon, I saw got mentioned here. Dusty DeBoer, you were mentioning. Is he? Yeah, is he running any? I haven't heard anything. I haven't heard of him running anything. He's got a few stage wins. I think Austin seems to have matured a lot quicker, but I mean, Ty had, is had to go kind of the long route through Germain Racing and so forth, and who knows how that's going to turn out, but Ty is certainly capable of getting just like any of these drivers, but yeah, we'll see what happens. Austin Dillon, I was very surprised by last year. I thought not just the win at Texas, but overall he seemed very consistent. That run at Darlington he had going after the leader there, I thought he was very impressive in that. And if he can kind of keep going, in that standpoint, I think that'll be good to see. It'll be good to see the 3-car back up there. Maybe not to the same standpoint as a Dale Earnhardt, but kind of taking Childress's own lineage and kind of getting to that point there. So that'll be something. Yeah, Germain Racing. Yeah, Arnold Motorsports. Exactly, said Ed. Yep, you're all over it. You got to talk about Jermaine Arnold Motorsports. We can talk about that. Oh, you're talking about Katie Mears. We can do that too. I don't know. I think Ty Dillon hasn't said, wouldn't put him in necessarily the same category as some of these other drivers we've seen get brought back to Xfinity or trucks and just having her. But All right. Nope, that one's too easy. Let's do our driver's question here. What NASCAR Winston Cup driver was the NASCAR Busch Series champ in 1994? Next question here. What NASCAR Winston Cup driver was the NASCAR Busch Series champ in 1994? Don't look it up. Just go ahead and guess. Uh-oh, buffer wheel. That's not good. Yeah, we might just, I don't know. We've had some storms roll through here, so that's probably having a factor in when it's not quite working exactly perfectly. But we'll do the best we can on this. What NASCAR Winston Cup driver was the NASCAR Busch Series champ in 1994? One other note on the videos upcoming. I'm sure you guys have noticed, and because I know I've noticed when I record it. I bought another piece of audio equipment. I got a new pop filter for my microphone, and I tested it just before the show tonight, and I think it should help there because I noticed in the Phoenix Racing episode the plosives were a little aggressive there, and I'm not happy about that either. That's something I've been dealing with for a very long time in these recordings. Different setups, different pop filters. I had one that's strapped to the microphone. It didn't work. I had one that was like a wire mesh one that I put in front of it and it didn't work. And I finally found one. I got one of those ones that had the fabric strapped over it. And that seems to work a little bit better. So far, it has. We'll give it a test for the Morgan Shepherd episode. And I think at that point, it's going to sound a lot better there at that point. So that's kind of the vision there. Uh-oh, it's choppy again. That's not good. Oh, goodness. Yeah, you can hit the refresh button, or I'm not sure what the best solution is for that. I know other streams working right. That's one we can work with, but we'll soldier through this. Maybe we'll make this a little bit of a shorter show here, so you're not struggling with seeing that for the rest of the night. We certainly don't want that. What NASCAR Winston Cup driver was the Busch Series champ in '94? The answer was indeed David Green. A lot of you got that. David Green. Yeah, they won that Bristol race that Mark Martin parked in, right? There's another one. Yes. Oh goodness. We have to certainly talk about this. This is the other thing too. Obviously we did the Stanley Smith tribute on the at the end of the Morgan Shepherd, or not the Morgan Shepherd, the Phoenix Racing video. Certainly condolences to the fans of both John Paul Jr. and Aldo Andretti. Just passed away just within these last few days. John Paul Jr. actually, I talked about him a little bit in the JD McDuffie book because that's actually where he got his career best Cup Series finish. Happened to be in that same race, running for Martin Bahrain. This is the same Martin Bahrain that fielded the most recent car that got disqualified in the Cup Series before the current disqualification rules, at least a disqualification that classified a driver last. But that didn't happen to Paul himself. He had a tremendous career in spite of some very serious obstacles in his life. I understand that his biography is available, and I think it's called 50/50, and the funds from that biography go to a charitable organization. So certainly on that one. And also Aldo Andretti, of course. Heartbreaking messages from Mario Andretti the other day, the passing of his brother. Obviously a tight-knit family out there, so certainly condolences to both of them at the same time. Yes, we're still doing trivia here, so we'll jump into that there at the same time. But definitely want to make sure to mention that as well. We may tie that in with the end of the Shepherd video and do something like that too. So we'll in terms of a tribute rather. All right. No, this one's too easy. Let me get a different one here. Here we go. Which Bodine started the Busch Clash 10 times before he finally won in 1992? Which Bodine started the Busch Clash 10 times before he finally won in 1992? Sure, just deliberately screwed over Team 3? I'm not aware of that. I mean, I know the stories I read about Team 3 racing is that they had some kind of issue with the team owner having a lot of extravagant expenses in his life, and there was a problem with that. Most of you got that there, Jeff. Jeff Purdy. All right. it's blocking the Indianapolis one there. Or is that Michigan? No, that's Indy. There we go. Alrighty. Here we go. This is a good one. Who was the first driver to win a third Southern 500? Don't look it up. Just go ahead and try to guess. Who is the first driver to win a third Southern 500? Buffering McLarge Hughes. That is not good. Oh my goodness. This one just might be a little snake bit tonight. That's unfortunate. Cake Yarbrough. Okay, very close. Who was the first driver to win a third Southern 500? That is our next question. If we're still buffering, I'm sorry. We're gonna get through this as best we can, and hopefully in our next show, which will probably be after the Morgan Shepherd episode debuts, will be a little bit clearer. Team Ireland, whichever one had the blown engine that got DNQ'd, came from Children's Shop. Oh, Beast of Metal. I think you are thinking of Team Ireland. That's the Martin Bahrain team. Yeah, I didn't even think about that being a Childress engine. I got to look that up. I know I did a feature on that a few years ago, back when I did the retro ones. But that one came up. Oh, your earbuds shorted out? Okay. Well, maybe hopefully it's an individual thing and not the major one. I do have a hub here on the side of my computer. Is through a USB-C port that I plug my USBs into. It may not be the best setup, so it's possible that could be the issue. I tell you what, dealing with computer issues, that's pretty much a full-time thing for me. So that'll be something that we'll look into next. And I've been using it for a while. I think I used it for the last few post-race shows, at least last 3 or 4 races of the season. So it's not necessarily a new thing, but we'll figure that out. The first driver to win a third Southern 500. That was our next question. And the answer is Herb Thomas. Herb Thomas. Not Carl Malone. Maserati 9. I think you got it. Wimbledon debut, the Morgan Shepherd episode. I'm hoping to have it up sometime before the end of this month. Certainly before the season starts back up again. That's the goal here. As to how many more episodes will get done between now and when the season restarts, that's going to be up in the air. But we're still going to be working on during the season. The release dates may be spaced out a little bit more just because, of course, at that point, I'm going to be doing the updates to the Nascar site and everything along the way. So that's going to be a bigger time commitment at that point. But we'll keep going with it because we did the first few episodes at the end of the season last year, and I think we'll get some good ones going. To test your earbuds, crank up the sound and play the intro to Rise of the Field Flowers. That probably wouldn't be the best idea. That's another thing we'll probably change in these future ones. I know I'm getting about 50% complaints about the how loud that is, and 50% saying they like that. That's probably a good enough reason to adjust it. I'll at least turn it down a little bit so it's not as harsh. I know when I say the word field in that, it's a little bit harsh. It kind of pegs the meter there. So that's probably not a fun thing to do. And I'm sure it's the reason that it's got the thumbs down that it has on the video already. So we'll try that maybe for the Morgan Shepherd episode and we'll kind of figure it out. But you can make it even louder. I can give you, it pumps me up too. I'll tell you what, when I do it in the premiere, it's that. What I might do, somebody wanted it as their ringtone. I could have it as a downloadable thing there in the Patreon or something, or maybe just on the main channel or something. That would be, I could certainly do that. That's the other thing too. Big thanks to the people of the Patreon there too. We had a couple of new people join up just before the holidays. Big thanks to them out there. I got some mailings here for the Patreon members before too much longer before the season starts, and do that because I had to kind of catch up on a couple of things for that. So yeah, very, very, very thankful for that, of course, especially with things being as unpredictable as they are. For again, those of you watching here, the first race of the season most likely is still going to be the one over at Sonoma. That'll probably be the first race that we cover in June. It had been for Fontana. But obviously with that getting canceled, that changed that. I'm not confident that Las Vegas is going to be much different. We thought about that as a backup. I pretty much put the kibosh on that, so I don't think that's going to be what we're going to do. And then pretty much between then and June, that's pretty much the next race that's kind of in our area. In terms of a longer trip or a longer location, that's still up in the air too. I floated Texas before, but that's still not confirmed yet either. But we're going to do the very best we can. And in the interim, when we're not doing the trackside coverage, we'll do more Rise of the Field fillers episodes. So you'll definitely still be having some more content generated and advanced access to that content as well. So that'll be the situation there. Uh-oh, we got the circle again. Oh man. It seems like right when I break something down there, it doesn't quite work. Goodness. The Kodak fabric is great. Yeah, I guess it kind of looks like the 4-car a little bit. I mean, this one here, but yeah, 30 car on that one. I don't think there's Sterling Marlin on this one. If we're talking that, we got the Musgrave one. You can't quite. There you go. For those of you who came in a little bit later, there's the Musgrave one, and there's there one on the top. No, the top one's just the track ones. So you got Martinsville, Talladega, and Darlington. Those are the 3 tracks around that one. So you got that. There you go. Oh yeah, and this one's a good square too. This one down here is Bristol. You can't quite see it very well, but that one has it's like the Bristol night race, so it's got like a moon and some stars next to it. That's kind of a good one there too. I need to get like a zoom or something on this so you can kind of pull into that there. But that's what that one is down there. And then that Richmond. No, that's Michigan. Okay, I thought Michigan was on here. All right. Next question, who was runner-up to Richard Petty in the 1971 NASCAR Winston Cup Championship? Who was the runner-up to Richard Petty in the 1971 NASCAR Winston Cup Championship? Robert Kahn, I see your comment on here. Actually, I did not make this, and I did not buy this. My mom made this, and she do a great job. It just looks. I'm tickled. I keep it behind me. It just looks great. She did she put that together herself. Another person quilted it with the flame pattern here, but everything else, this is all her. Yeah. So a lot of, as you can see from, the stuff I do on my channel here, there's a creative string that certainly runs through the family. I could never do this. Absolutely not. No, this is all her. The ones here, James Hilton, David Pearson, William Byron, final answer. There you go. Dave Marcus. Looks like most of you got this one. I'm pretty sure you guys are right. And you are indeed. It is the late James Harvey Hilton is the correct answer. All right. Okay. Here's a fun one. This one might be William Byron. Who was the first modern era rookie to win a 125-mile Daytona 500 qualifier? Maybe not William Byron. Who was the first modern era rookie to win a 125-mile Daytona 500 qualifier? Oh, the runner-up of the championship was James Hilton. You guys got that correct. If you were buffering during that, James Hilton was indeed the correct answer. Who was the first modern era rookie to win a 125-mile Daytona 500 qualifier? H.G. Wells, Earnhardt, Gordon, Earnhardt, Fireball Roberts, Gordon, Stewart, Gordon. Yeah, what modern in my context? Well, I mean, it's not letting me define it. It just says modern era on here. It's no later than 1998, but I would say probably 72 to present, 72 to 98. Evgeny Dodonov. Evgeny Dodonov. It seems like that should have like an emphasis on the second syllable. Yeah, it should mean 72 and prior. Well, 72 to 98. So going forward, at least. I'll make sure my microphone's not conking out on me. Alrighty. And the answer is indeed Jeff Gordon. Jeff Gordon, a lot of you got that. 1993. All right. Next question. What Virginia driver was the 1978 NASCAR Winston Cup Rookie of the Year? What Virginia driver was the 1978 NASCAR Winston Cup Rookie of the Year? Dodonov. Sounds like a hockey player. It does indeed. What Virginia driver was the 1978 NASCAR Winston Cup Rookie of the Year? Okay, I've got several guesses for Rudd, Lake Speed, Morgan Shepherd, Bobby Allison. And the answer is Ronnie Thomas. Aha! Yes. Ronnie Thomas is the correct answer. Yeah. Didn't see that one coming. Didn't see that one coming. There you go. I don't think anybody got that one. Or did they? Maserati, did you get that? I know you're usually pretty quick on the button. Yeah, this was made in the late 90s. Their blue cup. I know you were asking about that. Yeah. Ronnie Thomas. There you go. Can you see it on the screen? Yeah. Nope, that's not good. Yep. There you go. Oh, there, move my finger. There you go. Ronnie Thomas drove the 41 car for a while. See, Rookie of the Year is interesting. You know, you think somebody like Ernie Irvan won Rookie of the Year, right? No, he lost it to Ken Bouchard. You think that Jimmy Johnson, he had to be Rookie of the Year, right? Nope, lost it to Ryan Newman. You think Dale Jr. was Rookie of the Year? Nope, lost it to Matt Kenseth. Whoever won it, and you think Tyler Reddick should have been Rookie of the Year last year? Well, current points pretty much guaranteed that was going to go to Cole Custer. So it's Rookie of the Year is a tricky one. It is a very tricky one. How many championships did Joe Weatherly win in his short career? How many championships did Joe Weatherly win in his short career? Bouchard. There you go. Yep. You got to do the Boston accent, huh? How many championships did Joe Weatherly win in his short career? We'll do just a couple more questions here. I don't want you guys to have to deal with the connection issues here, but I hope you've enjoyed this here today. We're going to try to we'll do some more shows here along the way, but I want to at least get one in this weekend. I already got several twos. I'm seeing a lot of crooked numbers here. Is that correct? And the answer is indeed 2. 2 indeed. Chase Elliott, do you want to join me in a toast to Dale? Do you have a Mountain Dew or not? Or is that does that violate your contract now? Absolutely. We talking Earnhardt or Jarrett? I assume it's going to be Earnhardt. There you go, to Dale. Shalanza. All right. Yeah, would have won in 64. Yep, exactly. Yeah, just unfortunate. Here we go. Earnhardt, of course. Okay, well, there you go. All right. What driver is the only 5-time winner of the Coca-Cola 600, at least as of 1998? What driver is the only 5-time winner of the Coca-Cola 600? Yeah, Weatherly did lose his life at Riverside. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, Riverside was treacherous. It doesn't get talked about that much. Okay, we got several for Darrell Waltrip, Mr. Anchovy, Dale Sr., Petty. Which driver is the only 5-time winner of the Coca-Cola 600? Coca-Cola 600. I'm talking too quickly. And the answer is indeed Darrell Waltrip. Darrell Waltrip. See if we can get a good one here to kind of wrap up here tonight. Okay. Maybe this one. Here we go. Who is second to Richard Petty for most wins in a single season? Who is second to Richard Petty for most wins in a single season? Second. Different driver, presumably. Who's second to Richard Petty for most wins in a single season? Yeah, I remember that period when he owned Charlotte. Yeah, it seemed like Jimmy would definitely upend that statistic today. Okay, I guess it's for Gordon. Yarborough, Pearson, Gordon, Allison, Pearson, Gordon, Huge Jazz. Nice. DW. We got a Tim Flock here. Tim Flock, David Pearson, Gordon. Who is second to Richard Petty for most wins in a single season? And the answer is Richard Petty. That fooled me. I thought it was for sure a second driver, but it turns out it was not. It was another Richard Petty season. Should put these questions in a Kahoot game. Well, there you go. I don't know. Tiger Electronics probably wouldn't be too happy with me on that one. Let's see. No. Come on. Ooh, here we go. Here we go. Here's a good one. Yeah, they're both Richard Petty. How about that? I mean, this thing's got a few trick questions in it. I mean, almost as many as the Bill Elliott one. I know we've had that. I should have brought that up for Chase here, but we'll do that further down the line. What driver qualified for the Darlington Record Club 11 times in a Plymouth or Dodge? Here's your next one here. What driver qualified for the Darlington Record Club 11 times in a Plymouth or Dodge? TV Vanilla Wafer, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed the field filler episodes. Certainly more on the way. What driver qualified for the Darlington Record Club 11 times in a Plymouth or Dodge? Don't look it up. Just go ahead and guess. Pearson, Flock, Baker, Petty. What driver qualified for the Darlington Record Club 11 times in a Plymouth or Dodge? Petty, Earnhardt, Herb Thomas. And the answer is not Daniel Kvyat. It is Richard Petty, because of course it is. It's Richard Petty again. We're in a knot of Richard Petty questions. Let's see. Not that one. Here we go. Okay. One more question for tonight. I know we're running a little long here. Last question for the evening. Who spray painted his name on the 1990 checkered 500 sign after winning the race? Or checker 500. I'm sorry, I misspoke. Who spray painted his name on the 1990 checker 500 sign after winning the race? Uh-oh, we're loading again? That's not good. Okay, well, we're wrapping up here anyway. We'll get this one more question. I'll wait and see if we get some more responses here. Okay, good. It's starting to pop up again. I'll read it a couple more times, make sure everybody heard it. Who spray painted his name on the 1990 checker 500 sign after winning the race? You got Senior, Petty, Cope, Davey, Rusty, Richmond, Davey Allison, Brett Bodine, Cope, Kowicki, Earnhardt, Joe Knott, Derek Cope, Davey Allison. See, we're all okay. Okay, good. This is a good one to land on. Who spray painted his name on the 1990 checker 500 sign after winning the race? Jimmy Spencer. He's that level of crazy. That's a good guess. Derek Cope, Allison. Seems like we're getting a lot of Earnhardt and Allison guesses and a fair number of Derek Cope guesses. Checker 500. Alrighty, we'll give it just another few seconds here, and then we'll get the answer. Who spray painted his name on the 1990 checker 500 sign after winning the race? Tony wants to know, have you ever seen the rains? Huh? Alrighty, and the answer is Dale Earnhardt. Dale Earnhardt is indeed the correct answer. So thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. Doing these shows here and there. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed every little bit here of, a little bit of a different kind of show here today, but just filling in the time over the off season. Have a wonderful new year. We're going to do another show probably at least when we debut the Morgan Shepherd episode, which should be later this month. We may do an earlier show if, things permitted, or if we end up in a situation where we absolutely have to talk about something. Maybe on here, maybe on the second channel. Stay tuned to all of that. Of course, at Last Car on Brock, Twitter, patreon.com/lastcaronbrock is the Patreon. Of course, the website is lastcar.info. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in, and have a wonderful evening.